Hello everyone, my name is Brianna Spencer and I will be giving you my review on two videos that I watched about happiness. The first video that I watched was by Brendan Burchard and it is called The Secret to Happiness. And he is a motivational author who claims that people can attain their goals of happiness through common sense solutions. And what he pretty much said when he started out was that we figured out the basics of happiness is sometimes common sense isn't common practice, which some can disagree, but I do agree with this statement. Common sense isn't common, sadly, but it is. It is not. He also said for the power of now, which this is like his steps in getting happiness now and later, he said, get here, be engaged, and be present within the moment. And he says for the future, it's all about anticipating and being excited about the future, which I can agree with this statement as well. When you do think more excitedly or optimistically about your future, the happier you seem, especially to others. I know that happens a lot because me, myself, I've dealt with like depression, and a lot of people, because I'm so optimistic or motivation like driven, they think I'm happy, but you're not always happy because you're motivated. So I can agree and disagree with this statement. Um, But after like listening to his video, I can definitely see that he was a motivational speaker. But he didn't have much scientific research presented to people watching the video, so it wasn't as helpful as the second video that I'm about to talk about. Um, but he did give like a lot of examples of like everyday life on why people are unhappy or which ways I guess they can change those certain situations to be happier. Like in relationships, he pretty much says to pretty much question yourself, you know, what is it that you're not doing in the relationship, or what is it that the other person's not doing now in the relationship. And that's what he says you can kind of test out happiness in that way, which, yeah, doesn't really work in every situation, of course. Now, for the second video by Sonia Limbrowski, she's a professor at the University of California, and she claims that others can increase people's happiness. And she had wrote a lecture, well, not wrote a lecture, sorry. She had given a lecture on this, and this is what I reviewed today. So when she first starts out, she says, a Chinese proverb, if you want happiness, this is what it's titled. An hour, take a nap. A day, go fishing. A month, get married. A year, inherit a fortune. And a lifetime, help someone else. And with this, I thought it was very interesting. It's actually a really good proverb, and that's why I wrote it down. But the last part, a lifetime helps someone else, is definitely what I've always been striving for. I feel like it always makes me happier to help someone else or to be giving to someone else versus always taking in gifts or stuff. It's all about giving back to others. And through her studies that she actually did with a few students, she's seen that acts of kindness, just random or even having like a instructed day of acts of kindness throughout that day, she noticed that students were really, interconnecting with the people around them, and they also got to see the happiness that they got within that one day. And maybe it's because they had like a little list that they can say, oh, I did this today, which anyone can say that makes them happy to feel like they've accomplished something throughout the day. And maybe that's why the study of doing 5 random acts of kindness in a day versus doing it throughout 6 weeks was more helpful or presented happier results for the students. And what she also did, she spoke on like how this can relieve stress and also the social consequences that people would have, because through this type of experience, she feels like people socially would get more help or more happiness because they're helping others. And then other people, like almost like a domino effect, then other people would start to help them. And it's just a positivity that would just surround them because of the good things that they're doing for others. Which, I mean, that makes sense in a way. At the same time, I feel like happiness doesn't always just come from what you're doing for others. There has to be other ways to have long-term happiness, which wasn't presented here or in Brandon's video either. So having some more examples of like how to gain happiness would be more helpful for both these authors, I feel like. Um, Now, when I did review both of these, I also reviewed a website about scientific claims and how to familiarize myself with them and how to look at both of these videos and really figure out if they were scientifically backed up. Um, which in this case, based on my research that I found on Scientific American, the site, it explained how in order to support or refute scientific claims, there are different things that you can look for. The first thing that it says is the scope of logical structure. And an example of this is like, did the person or speaker, have a hypothesis or have studies or any results? Were they shown? Um, and lastly, did they imply any of these results or, take in any criticisms? And what I seen from the first video, Brendan's video, he did not really mention any type of like study or even results of any kind. He just kind of spoke about like real life examples, which is okay, but it didn't really give a sense of what exactly he was trying to tell people, what happiness was, besides just saying common sense. Um, and that was, I don't feel like he was the scientific study here. I felt like he was the faulty claim. Um, Now, for Sonia, I feel like she was the correct claim because she gave examples of a study. She also spoke on the results and how her students implied those and how she implied those in the future. Um, because at the end of her video, she says that she attests her findings to the important role of motivation, effort, commitment, and fit. Now, this is how she wrapped up her video because after doing her studies, she figured out that with them not having the motivation throughout the week because they got busy with other things, that's why having the study over 6 weeks made it so people weren't seeing as happy as they were actually becoming because of these random acts. Beside, the fact that once they did it in that one day, the 5 random acts of kindness, they actually saw the results of happiness. So it's all about the motivation, fitting it into your schedule, the effort that you put into it, and also being committed to what you're doing, which is helping other people. And that can always make you feel happy because you feel like you're doing something good, not just for you, but positive for others. And that's always a happy thing for me too. But also, like another thing that the Scientific American said that you can look for, which I didn't do in this case, was the sources cited. Which it is harder to get like a really good read or clear read on what is credible and what's not. Because in this situation, like Brendan, his was on the SNHU site, which of course you would look at it at first and say, oh, that's credible because it's on the site. But he's not a scientist or even like a professor, so he doesn't really study this himself. Where on the other hand, we have Sonia, who her video was on YouTube. So at first you look at it and you're like, oh, it's not too credible. But then, you learn that she's a professor at the university. So she, this is what she does. So it made it really easier to figure out who was credible in this way and who wasn't. And just please let me know if you have any further questions or concerns. Thank you.